We've got some breaking news this hour. A top aide to a South suburban politician has been indicted for bankruptcy fraud. Keith Freeman serves as the village administrator in Dolton and advisor in Thornton Township. He works directly for Tiffany Henyard, who is both the mayor of Dolton and Thornton's supervisor. Henyard's spending has come under scrutiny after a series of WGN Investigates reports highlighting first-class travel, meals, and public money funneled to her namesake charity. Federal prosecutors accuse Freeman of lying about his income from both of his government positions in his personal bankruptcy filing.
The first hammer has officially dropped. Keith Freeman, your Cinderella moment is about to come to an end. Let's jump into the details and go political. All right, greetings everybody. This is Carlton Flowers and the Go Political channel. And boy, oh boy, today have we got some breaking news that we're going to have to discuss. Keith Freeman indicted for bankruptcy fraud. The first hammer has officially dropped. So in today's video, we're going to discuss the indictment, the bankruptcy fraud, all the details, and then we're going to talk about how Keith was called by God to serve the city of Dolton and Thornton Township. And then we might discuss some of Tiffany Henyard's similar behavior in abusing the God card. And then I'm going to break down for you the 7 possible charges that could be next on the docket that come down from the authorities. All right, so let's just cover the breaking news, and I'm going to read it straight from the news report so I don't get this twisted up. Keith Freeman, senior administrator for both the village of Dolton and the Thornton Township, has been charged in federal court with engaging in a bankruptcy fraud scheme. Wow. The indictment alleges that Freeman made false statements in his bankruptcy petition to conceal his assets, sources of income, and a significant claim against him from his creditors. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Illinois is the charging authority in this case. So before we talk more about this, I would like to share with you an interesting video from a show called 5 Minutes of Faith, where Keith Freeman is going to share some of his Christian background and how God influenced him to take this position of authority that he now sits in, which has now become the hot seat. Let's cut the video.
For those of us who choose to receive Christ, we're redeemed. To be redeemed means we're delivered from sin. With that comes the opportunity to help others receive redemption. This is not specific to evangelism. Sometimes our calling to our God-given duties are tied to our vocation. So what happens when God calls us to a specific vocation and we run from it? My guest today, Keith Freeman, is here to tell you all about it. I'm Claudia Parker, and 5 Minutes of Faith starts now.
Hi, I'm Keith Freeman, father, husband, public servant, and entrepreneur, and I'm here on 5 Minutes of Faith with Claudia Parker. Recently, my wife and I, we started a few businesses, a few retail stores. We hit some challenges, some financial challenges. And I decided to walk away from a store that we created together, and I decided to go into another direction and start a hedge fund, which was pretty cool because I got to work with one of my friends. I probably got to get out of my wife's way because I was in the store with her all the time, probably bugging the heck out of her. And me and my buddy, we get together, we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna start this hedge fund. We start putting money together. We started filling out all the paperwork. We started talking to banks, and initially everything was just going great. And we were just like, go, 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 go. We had people that were interested. And then all of a sudden the brakes just hit. My wife and I, we had put sort of everything that we had into our businesses. And so there wasn't very much left to sort of fall back on and say, hey, listen, what are we gonna do? We had no idea, we had no clue. And I had just stopped working as a public servant. I had worked for years in a few municipalities, and I had even told a bunch of my friends that I would never go back to it, ever. The experience was just way too much. And so I had become like primary daddy daycare. I have a son, he'll be 3 in a month, and I have a 7-year-old. So trying to manage those two little personalities, my daughter and my son, was just crazy. One day, I'm sitting in the house, and I had gotten a call from the same person, and he had said, Keith, you gotta come work in this town. And I'm like, I'll never work in that town. Then his wife called, because his wife was the managing attorney for one of the cities. As a matter of fact, a couple of the cities. She was like, Keith, can you just think about it? No, I'm not thinking about it. I was just being stubborn. I was purposely trying to ruin God's purpose for me, and I knew I was. So I got a phone call, not from, a congressperson, not from another elected official. I got a phone call from a firefighter. And he said, hey, listen, Keith, if you don't mind, can you take like 10 minutes? Just, we can meet wherever you want to, just sit down with me. But something said, if I don't pay attention and I don't listen, then I'm gonna keep going this path. So I go meet this guy at his firehouse, and he tells me this incredible story about how God blessed him. He was a public servant for years. He did a couple wrong things, and it just led him in the wrong direction. But, God is faithful. And he had overcome a zillion obstacles to become mayor of one of the largest municipalities in the south suburbs of Chicago. Before I left, what he told me is that you can try to run away from your purpose, but no matter where you go, God's going to put you there. And I believe that you're supposed to be a public servant. You're supposed to serve people. You're the person that God put here for those things. And so I still wasn't trying to hear it. I'm being honest with you. I was like, yeah, I'm straight. I hear you. I didn't tell him to kick rocks, but in the car I was thinking kick rocks. I really was. I'm sitting at home the very next day. The very next day, it couldn't have been, like 24, it wasn't even 24 hours. So the next morning, me and my son, again, I'm playing daddy daycare. My son and I, we get down and we pray, and I'm like, God, if whatever you want me to do, like, I'll do it. And like right then, I got a phone call from my new boss, who is really, really dope. Like, I just couldn't mess with God's will. I just couldn't mess with his purpose for my life. He gave me everything I wanted for compensation. He gave me everything I wanted for benefits. And ever since then, there has been a roller coaster of great things that have happened to me, my wife, my boss, and has just taken me to different places and opened doors for me that I would never, ever be able to open for myself. So I may be stubborn, but I understand how much God has blessed me and my family, my friends, and I am extremely grateful for everything he's done. Every day now, I go through the prayer of Jabez. My wife makes me read it, and I believe in purpose. And I believe that God sometimes will not allow for you to avoid your purpose, even if you try to sabotage it yourself.
Wow. So the irony is palpable. 5 minutes of faith. Maybe they should have called this 5 minutes of pathological BS. All right. So, I was always raised and taught that you don't play around with God. You don't blaspheme. You don't use the Lord's name in vain. And you don't pull the God card for your own personal gain to deceive people. But Keith Freeman claims that he is a man of God, as we saw in this video. And he did come across as very sincere, did he not? He really struck me as a sincere individual. If I knew nothing about his background, I would trust this guy. I mean, he says he's redeemed and he was only following the call of God. Yes, indeed. Now, it kind of makes you wonder, should you really trust people just because they claim to be a Christian? They claim to be called by God. What percentage of our politicians and leaders are using the God card just to fool the elect? How many? What percentage? I tend to think it is a high percentage. But how disgusting is it that this man used the God card to deceive multitudes of people, to break the law, to hide behind the curtain while he is doing dirty deeds, getting involved in debauchery and stealing from the people that he claims he was called by God to serve. You know, it kind of reminds me of the Wizard of Oz. You remember in the Wizard of Oz when Dorothy and the lion and the straw, you know, it's been so long, I can't even think of the characters. The Scarecrow, I'm sorry, and the Tin Man, they're shaking in their shoes because the Wizard of Oz has the big apparition and all of the smoke and the fire, the loudspeaker, and Toto runs over and catches him behind the curtain and then pulls the curtain and he is exposed. And then the wizard says, "Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. I am the great and powerful Oz." And he continues on trying to deceive. Well, Keith Freeman, they have just pulled the curtain and you have been exposed and using the God card. Now, did he learn this on his own? Or did he learn it from his boss? Maybe he learned this on his own. This is the type of person that he is. But isn't it interesting that his boss set the example of using the God card? In fact, Tiffany Henyard will pull the God card, the racism card, and even the male chauvinist card. I mean, let's all remember that they were, what did she say? Y'all fiending and attacking on a single black woman. And y'all black, y'all should be ashamed of y'all selves. Oh my goodness. And so she provided the example, and then she invited in several other people to serve in her administration who have criminal backgrounds, who are just like herself. Oh man, how many criminals has she hired to serve on her administration? But this is the chief criminal who was hired in to be the steward of the money of the people of Dolton, 20,000 people, and then of the Thornton Township that the number is far greater than 20,000. I can't even imagine how many residents are officially in the Thornton Township. But this man who can't even manage his personal finances, and people entrusted him with millions and millions of dollars, millions of dollars. Yet he can't handle his own finances. Now, this indictment is only covering one of the bankruptcies. So it is quoting from the bankruptcy, this most recent one. But we must consider the fact that he has filed bankruptcy not just this one time, not 2 times, not 3. No, he has filed bankruptcy 7 times in the past. So we have a serial bankruptcy filer. So let's just sit here and think about it. How many people, how many companies, how many institutions, how many nonprofits, how many corporations have been damaged by Keith Freeman over his past 7 bankruptcies? And will people ever get any remuneration? I don't think that they're ever going to get anything out of it unless they have like a big sale. Maybe if they take down the entire crime ring and they auction off the Tahoe and some of the other luxury items, the golden microphone that Tiffany Henyard herself speaks from while they're feeding and attacking on a single black woman. Sell that golden microphone and give some of those proceeds back to the people who have been screwed over by Keith Freeman and his filing of bankruptcy. Sad, sad, sad indeed. Well, okay, let's get into the meat of this. It's old news that the indictment is there. We have the one charge, but I want to talk about 7 possible charges which could be coming next. In my research, I think that there is a possibility that we could see 7 more charges come against Keith Freeman. All right. Now, the first one, he could get like 5 years in a federal prison, okay? All right? In the federal prisons, you get made into a boyfriend of mean people who do very not so nice things to you, okay? But I think more charges could come down. Now, let me read you the list of the 7 charges that I think that could happen in addition to the one that is already on the books. And they are as follows. Embezzlement, bribery or corruption, fraudulent contracts, violation of campaign finance laws, conspiracy, official misconduct, and civil penalties and restitution. All right, so let's run through these and talk about why I think these could be possible. Number 1, embezzlement or misappropriation of public funds. If taxpayer funds were intentionally diverted for personal or unauthorized purposes, such as campaign materials, this could lead to charges related to embezzlement or misappropriation. These charges would focus on the misuse of public funds for personal gain. Not good. Number 2, how about bribery or corruption? If there was a quid pro quo arrangement, look that up, that's Latin, where Freeman's wife's business received contracts in exchange for campaign support, bribery or corruption charges might apply. Now, keep in mind that printing business, which is Keith's, that he put in his wife's name, is the one behind all of the ridiculous banners, posters, flyers, the great big signs along the highway, the billboards where they even misspelled Thornton Township. It read Thornton Township. Duh. Oh my goodness, how ridiculous is it? This is Keith Freeman's business, all right? And it's interesting how this business received all of these no bid contracts. But we'll get into that in a minute here. But these charges would involve illegal exchanges of favors or benefits. Now, let's get into number 3, fraudulent contracts. Fraudulent contracts. Awarding no bid contracts directly to Freeman's wife's business without proper bidding processes could be considered fraudulent. Charges related to fraudulent contracts might include conspiracy to defraud the government. Now, how many times have we heard the trustees bring up the fact that Tiffany Henyard keeps doling out these no-bid contracts, ignoring the RFP process, which is required for any contract that I think it is at greater than $5,000? Well, whatever the case, an RFP or request for bids is supposed to come first, where everyone has an opportunity to bid on contracts, where the lowest qualified bidder gets awarded that contract so that the people's money is spent in the most responsible way. All right, number 4, violation of campaign finance laws. If taxpayer funds were used to purchase campaign materials, this could violate campaign finance laws. Charges might include illegal campaign contributions or improper use of public resources for political purposes. Number 5, conspiracy. If multiple individuals were involved in the scheme, conspiracy charges could apply. These charges would focus on the collaboration to commit illegal acts. That would be the mayor collaborating with the town administrator, collaborating with the wife who owns the printing company, receiving no bid contracts to print billboards that misspell the Thornton Township name. All right, moving right along. Number 6, how about official misconduct? Now, this one could flow over to the mayor. If Henyard, as a public official, knowingly allowed or facilitated the misuse of taxpayer funds, she could face charges related to official misconduct. These charges would center on the breach of her duty as an elected official. All right, last but not least, I believe we could be looking at civil penalties and restoration. Here I go again, sounding like Tiffany Henyard. Restoration. Tiffany, don't steal that, and if you do, give me credit. Civil penalties. I still have the Tiffany tongue. Civil penalties and restitution. That's what I meant to say. Now, beyond criminal charges, there could be civil penalties and requirements to repay the misused funds, which we know ain't never going to happen. Restitution might be ordered to reimburse the taxpayers for the diverted money. Now, again, they're probably going to have like a big auction, sell off the Tahoe and the golden microphone and everything else to give a little bit of that money back to the hardworking people who paid for it. Whew. Shame on all of you for putting her into power. You put this woman into power and look what happened. She appoints criminals who carry out her duties as assigned to bleed you dry of every cent that you have in your pockets. So now, in general, let's talk about politicians and crooks, using the God card to do wrong. So they quote Bible scriptures. They preach the gospel. They talk about how they're redeemed and called of God. And then they turn right around and rob you blind. Now, you watched my video that I did on Tiffany Henyard, where I discussed the fact that she is possibly a sociopath, definitely displaying narcissistic behavior. But my question to you is Keith Freeman also a narcissist? Is he a pathological liar? Post it in the comments below and let me know. Do you believe that he suffers from the same psychological or sociological issues that we see in the mayor, who uses these same strategies, pulling the God card, to deceive the elect and deflect from the wrongdoing and debauchery that is going on behind the curtain? Post it in the comments below. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. And also, how long do you think that it will take now that we have one indictment that has been handed down? And who do you think will be the next person that receives an indictment? Will Keith Freeman receive more indictments? Will it be some of the other crooks? Will it be the trustee who committed the heinous crimes while on vacation, not business, vacation to Las Vegas? Let me know. Is it Holmes? Is it going to be Keith Freeman? Or do you think Tiffany Henyard will be the next one to receive a federal indictment? I'd love to know. But in the meantime, I would absolutely love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe to the Go Political channel. Thank you all who have already subscribed, but hit that button if you have not up until now and tick the little bell so you are notified when I have a new video. And please share the word. Tell a friend about the Go Political channel and let me know what you would like me to cover next. It's about all I got for now. This is Carlton, and I am out.